The United Kingdom's Ministry of Defense latest intelligence update on Ukraine, October 20, 2023. On October 17, several Russian helicopters and air defense equipment were likely struck at Berdyansk and Luhansk airfields. Ukraine likely used US-provided ATACMS missiles for the first time, destroying 9 helicopters at Berdyansk and 5 at Luhansk. Russia has relied heavily on rotary-wing aircraft for support due to poor fixed-wing close air support. Berdyansk was a key forward operating base for Russia on the southern axis. If confirmed, these losses will impact Russia's ability to defend and conduct offensives in the south. Replacing lost aircraft will be difficult for Russia given strains on military production. The losses will add pressure on Russian pilots and aircraft already suffering from exhaustion and maintenance issues. Russia may relocate bases farther from the front lines, increasing logistics challenges. Ukraine's Armed Forces General Staff Update. Day 604 of Russia's attempted full-scale invasion of Ukraine continues. There were 77 combat engagements between Ukrainian and Russian forces. Russia launched 5 missile strikes, 33 airstrikes, and 32 multiple-launch rocket system attacks against Ukrainian positions and settlements, civilian casualties reported. Fighting remains active in eastern and southern Ukraine. Ukrainian forces repelled numerous Russian ground attacks along various axes, including near Kupiansk, Lyman, Bakhmut, Avdiivka, and Marinka. Russia conducted airstrikes across many regions. Over 20 settlements came under artillery and mortar fire. Ukraine launched its own airstrikes against Russian troop concentrations and anti-aircraft systems. Ukraine's missile forces struck Russian command posts, ammo depot, troop concentrations, and an electronic warfare station. Fighting continues with Ukraine remaining on the offensive in some areas while trying to exhaust Russian forces along the front lines. The Institute for the Study of War Russian Offensive Campaign Assessment. Russian forces launched renewed offensive operations near Avdiivka, advancing marginally and indicating Russia remains committed to offensives there despite heavy losses. Footage shows Russian forces secured minor advances west of Krasnohorivka, just north of Avdiivka. Russian military bloggers claim Russia captured a Ukrainian stronghold near Avdiivka, advanced to a rail station north of the city, and south near the Tsarska Okhota restaurant. One prominent blogger said Russia unsuccessfully attacked near Sivern, south of Avdiivka, near Stepov and Novokhalinov. Other bloggers claim Russia advanced up to 1 kilometer on the Stepov-Berdichi line, and fighting continues near Berdichi. Ukraine's General Staff reports repelling Russian attacks near Avdiivka, Novokhalinov, Stepov, Pervomoyska, and Sivern. The Institute for the Study of War Key Takeaways today. Ukrainian forces continued sizable ground operations across the Dnipro River in Kherson, establishing presence in a settlement on the east bank, indicating Russian defenses there remain vulnerable. Russian and Ukrainian reports suggest units defending East Kherson are less combat-ready than elsewhere, providing Ukraine an advantage. Ukraine maintained counteroffensives near Bakhmut and western Zaporizhia, but without confirmed gains, showing difficult fighting continues. Putin visited southern military district headquarters, likely to discuss weakening positions in Kherson with top generals as Ukraine presses. Russia is still attempting limited offensive ops along Kupiansk-Svatov-Kremina line, near Avdiivka, West Donetsk, Zaporizhia-Donetsk border, and western Zaporizhia with some success. A top Russian official proposed stripping Russian citizenship from unwilling migrants if they won't fight, underscoring Russia's need to bolster manpower. Jake Bro Update. Ukraine used newly delivered ATACMS missiles to strike a Russian helicopter base at Berdyansk airport, destroying many helicopters. This will limit Russia's ability to attack Ukrainian forces. Russia's offensive in eastern Ukraine has stalled, with high casualties and little progress made. Russia failed to capture the city of Bakhmut. Russia is recruiting fighters from Serbia to make up for troop shortages. Putin wants to avoid mass mobilization until after elections in March. Russia is seeking economic and diplomatic support from China and North Korea. But North Korea is an isolated, impoverished country despite propaganda. Russia threatened to pull out of the nuclear test ban treaty, not for any technical reason, but to intimidate and threaten the world. Tensions flare between Israel and Gaza. Russia exploits this to stir outrage in the Muslim world and distract the West from Ukraine. Protesters attacked Western embassies and consulates in Muslim countries in response to false claims Israel bombed a Gaza hospital. Russia promotes disinformation to stoke tensions. In Zaporizhia, 4 civilians were killed in an apartment bombing. but a cat was rescued from the rubble, showing Ukraine values all life. Reporting from Ukraine update. Fighting has resumed around Avdiivka after a pause with intense Russian attacks. However, Russian losses are high and offensive capabilities are weakening. Russia lost at least 63 tanks and armored vehicles on the northern flank of Avdiivka, with many destroyed before reaching the front lines due to Ukrainian targeting. Russia initially captured a tree line near Krasnohorivka, but has now lost control of it after Ukrainian artillery destroyed the trenches. This expanded the gray zone and undermined the Russian offensive. Ukraine is using drones to lay anti-tank mines on Russian trails and routes to immobilize their vehicles. The Terrakhon mount gives Ukrainian ATGM crews good visibility to target Russian vehicles in the open fields. A Russian soldier said the offensive was a mistake and not worth the losses. He complained of insufficient preparation and lack of counter-battery fire. Ukrainian forces are intercepting Russian fighter jets, destroying 5 in the past 10 days, which is weakening Russian air attacks. The Ukrainian commander-in-chief visited Avdiivka to assess needs for neutralizing Russia's offensive. Ukraine Matters Update. Russia suffered huge losses of over 1,300 soldiers killed in a single day of attacks near Bakhmut, the largest daily losses of the war so far. This demonstrates the hubris and lack of strategy of the Russian military leadership. There was a Ukrainian raid across the Dnipro River near Kherson using marine forces. This appears to have been mainly a reconnaissance and disruption raid rather than an effort to establish a permanent bridgehead. Ukraine is now using older Tochka ballistic missiles, but they have more submunitions and are still effective for hitting targets within 150 kilometers. More advanced missiles may still be provided by the West. Ukrainian drones are now able to hit Russian artillery positions, indicating the artillery may have to deploy closer to the front lines due to technical issues. Ukraine is also developing reusable drones that can drop bombs and return. Russia attacked near Svadov again, but with poorly trained mobilized reservists and suffered heavy losses, with Ukraine even regaining some ground. Ukraine continues to demonstrate strong military capabilities while inflicting unsustainable casualties on Russian forces.